Hello, I'm Nadia Bilchik, and welcome to Career Cafe. This is the podcast that gives you advice and guidance on how to manage your career, both in terms of interpersonally as well as professionally. This is the podcast that's going to give you tips, tools, and techniques to take your career to the next level. Hello, I'm Nadia Bilchik. This is Career Cafe, and I'm honored and privileged to have a personal friend and mentor of mine, and someone who has really been described as the guru on capitalizing on the science of selling, speaker extraordinaire, and really somebody who has mastered the art and science of selling, and that is Chuck Reaves. So Chuck, a very warm welcome to Career Cafe.
Nadia, so great hearing your voice again. Every time we get together, I learn something, so I'm excited to be with you again.
Well, the feeling is entirely mutual. So, Chuck, you speak about capitalizing on the science of selling, and you've been doing this for a couple of decades at this point. Obviously, we have disruptors at this point. So anybody who's involved in selling, from my retail clients, which is Hudson's Bay companies, Saks Fifth Avenue, Lord & Taylor, to your clients, which are technology companies, what does anybody who is in sales needs to know in the year 2018?
Well, buckle your seatbelt. There's more change. There's been more change in the world of sales in the last, I would say, 8 or 9 months than there has been in the last 20 years. And a tectonic change is about to happen. First of all, everybody's in sales. Everybody in anyone's organization has the opportunity to influence a customer's buy, no buy decision. So when we look at sales, we're looking at everybody in the company. When we look at the science of selling, we take it away from an art form or some kind of personality or something and put analytics behind it. And boy, it's just blossoming. It's amazing what's happening in sales right now.
So can we be very practical and sort of break it down into tangible? So obviously, Amazon being able to deliver something to your door in 24 hours or less changes things. But for somebody who's listening to this, let's say who is in the retail space, who is managing a Lord & Taylor or a Saks Fifth Avenue or a whatever store, what advice or guidance do we give them?
Oh, excellent. First of all, never talk to a customer. Now, that sounds odd, doesn't it? Part of the science behind selling is the human mind cannot not respond to a question. So instead of talking to customers, ask them questions, but never, ever, under any circumstances, ask, "May I help you?" When we go into a store and somebody says, "May I help you?" what do we say? "Just looking." Okay. Mm-hmm. It's not a true statement. If somebody wants to just look, where do they go? They go to the zoo, the aquarium, or the museum. If they're in a store, there is something they want to buy. So rather than opening with a question about yourself, "May I help you?" find an opening question, something that engages the customer, and just use your intuition. If they show up and they're sharply dressed, you know something about them already, use that. If they show up and they've got children with them, compliment the kids, say something about them, personalize that first interaction as well as you can.
So let's go back to that. So instead of saying, how may I help you, can I help you, you instead comment, and we know that a lot of customers now come in very casually dressed. But might you, I'm just thinking about, might you say something like, "How old are your kids?" So engage them in conversation. Or, "I noticed you're wearing sneakers. You obviously work out."
Oh, there we go. And just use your common sense. I was helping a retail client, and they came in with a family. The little girl, I think, was maybe 8 or 9, impeccably dressed, had the tiara, the whole bit. And I looked at her and I said, "So are you married?" And that just broke the ice. Everyone's laughing. People are people. We buy from other individuals. The retail industry right now is going through a lot of turmoil with the Amazons and the home deliveries and all those other things. We still enjoy buying from people. I shop for my technology equipment online. I buy it from brick and mortar because I want someone, first of all, to stand behind it in case there's any kind of an issue. But secondly, I want somebody that can confirm I'm buying the right thing. The same is true in clothing. I'm a guy. What do I know about style? What do I know about fashion? So I go to the store and say, what are the latest trends? What's coming up next? I'm a cheapskate, so I want my sport coats to last for 5 or 6 years. I don't want to buy something today that's going to go out of style tomorrow. The best salesperson I ever met at retail, a gentleman came up and he said, "Don't I know you from somewhere?" Well, what a great opening question. I had on the power suit, the pocket square and all that stuff. So we got into a dialogue, and his very next question was, "What do you do for a living? Does that impact what I'm going to buy?" Of course it does. And I explained I'm a professional speaker. He said, "Well, where do you speak?" Isn't this great? We haven't talked about clothes yet. He said, "What else do you do?" I said, "Video." We talked about video for a while. He said, "Let me show you what you need to be wearing in a large auditorium and what you need to be wearing on video."
So what you're saying is all the rules that in networking, we speak about starting a conversation with somebody that leads from a connection to a conversation to a collaboration. You're saying
Yes.
all of those things we should be applying in the world of retail. We think of ourselves differently if we are assisting others. We think of it as you're coming in. So you're saying teach your associates or your salespeople or your style advisors conversational skills.
Oh, absolutely. And at 40,000 feet, you've nailed it. But now, when we get down to street level, the trainer or the manager needs to teach the salespeople to respond based on the customer's demographics. Now, this is your area of expertise. This is where you've got all the experience and the knowledge.
Right.
So when you're training people, and you're a master at this, you help people understand this is what you look for in the demographic. This is what is permissible. This is what is proper. And this is what will really take things over the top. This is
now, can we clarify something here? We're not talking about stereotyping. We're not talking about putting. You're talking about an age group. If somebody walks in who is an over 40-year-old female, it's different if you have a young teenager or a 19-year-old or a 20-year-old walking in, because you are going to, your tone of your voice, how you talk to them, you need to adapt.
Oh, absolutely. And what I am learning is us boomers have a hard time keeping up with what the latest trends, technologies, trends in language are. I can keep up with technology if it's just pure technology. But the buzzwords they're using now, so don't try to be hip. Be yourself, but understand you're not going down to their level. You're going over to their level. We're not better or worse than our customer. And we may have more experience. We may have a different age or whatever. But what we're looking at is getting on par with the customer. Talking down to somebody is never going to work. And talking over someone's head is never going to work. That's why it's so important that we try to figure out what is their demographic, how do they receive information, how would they like to receive information. I joke about one of my clients coaches his 8-year-old daughter's soccer team and told him if they ever scored a goal, he would take them to Denny's. So they all go running into Denny's after scoring a goal. They sit down at the table and they take out their phones and start texting. Who are they texting?
Each other.
Yeah, what are you going to have?
Right.
Okay, if I'm trying to lecture them on the proper decor to when you're in a restaurant, that's not going to go anywhere. We need to reach their level. And again, it's not up, it's not down, it's across. I want to meet them where they are.
So again, how do we, in the world of training and development, help our salespeople and our sales managers and our store managers? How do we help it get down to the associate level? Because so often these conversations are happening at a higher level, but at the end of the day, what impacts the customer the most is everyone from the cashier to the hourly associate.
I'm a big believer in DIY, do-it-yourself training. And one of the best ways to teach the demographics how to interact with each other is have them facilitate the training. When I come in my demographic, this is how I would like to be treated. This is what I'm looking for. This is what's going through my mind. And then have a Gen Xer say, well, when I come into this store or a store like this, what I have on my mind, what I'm thinking, and the way I would like to make a decision is. males and females shop and buy differently. My way of shopping is track it down, kill it, and take it home. My wife's way of shopping is, let's see what all the alternatives are. Let's narrow it down to 3, and then we'll pick one out of the 3. I need to understand how my buyer chooses to buy before I try to sell to them.
So what you're saying is companies are not having enough discussions amongst themselves and using their own population to have these conversations.
And don't we all do that? There was a slogan that used to go around years ago, what kind of world would this world be if everybody in it was just like me? Well, it'd be pure hell, I think.
Right.
We want to be able to structure our presentation and to understand and meet the other person where they are. DIY training is growing in popularity. There's the LMSs, the formal systems like some of us have. But what's best, 15 minutes once a week. That's really all it takes. Keep everybody sharp. When a new product line is brought out on the floor or a new reset is done on the floor, let each demographic be represented by somebody that says, this is what I like and do not like about it. This is the way I would approach it. And get real feedback from real people and see how far that will advance your sales.
We're going to take a short break, and when we come back, we're going to carry on the conversation with Chuck Reaves, who speaks about capitalizing on the science of selling. If you ever had Chuck come and speak to your organization, it would cost thousands and thousands and thousands and thousands of dollars, and you're getting it right here on Career Cafe, so stay tuned. Hello, and welcome back to Career Cafe. I'm Nadia Bilchik, talking to Chuck Reaves, who speaks extensively around the world on capitalizing on the science of selling. And he says it's changed more in the last 8 to 9 months than ever before. So, Chuck, in a digital age where so much of our purchasing is taking place online, are brick and mortar stores, in fact, obsolete?
I don't think they'll ever be obsolete. Business models have to change, whether it's sales, manufacturing, distribution, whatever it is. We have to change with the times. I have a new website. It's called Blended Selling. And there's a whole encyclopedia there of what's coming up in late 2018, early 2019, and then it's going to really hit in 2020. And it's what you're talking about, capitalizing on the technologies that are out there right now. What we're going to see, Nadia, and this is going to be exciting, retail centers are going to change. We're seeing some of the larger malls now cut in half, and half of it is office space. Well, if half of it is office space now, and it's the open office, it's not what you and I grew up with, where when you achieve a certain level in the company, you get a closed door corner office. Now it's all open to the point that there will be a table that will seat 20 people at one time, and they're sitting there working. So it's a whole new work environment, and it will be attached to a whole new retail environment, and that retail will be tailored, of course, to the people that work in this open environment. Meanwhile, we're going to see virtually the end of payroll salespeople. Those are going away because of technology. And it would take an hour to explain that. So blendedselling.com, it's all explained there. There's a new category coming called the SUBER, S-U-B-E-R. It's like Uber with an S or super with a B. And what's happening there is it's the Uber version of salespeople. So that when a company wants to go into a new market or area, they'll use a SUBER rather than a payroll employee. Well, how is that going to impact retail? The way that's going to impact retail is the fact that these people are going to have more disposable income and more disposable time. And time is the most precious commodity. So when we look at what's happening with retail, oh my gosh, they're about to undergo a revolution, and of course that's a good thing. Going to see the real estate space itself used more effectively.
Would you also say then, when you talk about blended selling, that every sales associate, every person in selling today, let's say in a retail environment, has to understand what online offerings there are in their particular area and be very proficient in both? Because how often have you walked into a store, they don't have the particular item, but they could say to you, you can get it online and order it there and then?
Yes, exactly. And not only proficient, but very aware of what their organization is offering and what the competition is offering. Harvard Business Review has said for years, we go from marketing to sales. We don't do that anymore. We go from marketing to shopping to sales. So Lord & Taylor could put out an ad and say, this is what we are offering. This is a new line that we brought in. And before the person will go to the store, they'll go online and they start shopping. Well, what if another store down the street or another store across town offers the same thing? The salesperson at Lord & Taylor needs to know that, and also needs to be able to quickly and efficiently delineate why it's best they buy from Lord & Taylor now. Lord & Taylor's got one of the best return policies, but they carry the best merchandise going, and what they have is best in class. So the salesperson needs to not be shy about saying, yes, there are other things available online. This is what you need. And too often, salespeople do not ask for the order. I get so frustrated. I was doing a seminar, and the salespeople in the seminar had a homework assignment, and that was they were to go out at lunch, each of them with $5, and they were to buy something and bring it back after lunch. The only criteria was the salesperson had to ask for the order. Well, 3 of the ladies got together and decided they would buy me a shirt. I've started prompting that, by the way, in my seminars.
Yes.
So they went to this men's store. They found a shirt, and it was time to come back. And the salesperson was helping them. And they kept saying, this is really nice. I think you'll like it. It's within our price point, yada, yada. And the salesperson was just nodding. And finally, they said, look, we're in this sales seminar, and you have to ask us for the order.
What would that look like? What would looking for an order look like?
Would this be cash or charge?
Simply close the sale.
Will one be enough? Would you like a tie to go with the shirt? There's 1,000 different ways to sell: upselling, cross-selling, suggestive selling, multiple choice selling. It's all just the customer wants to buy. That's why they showed up in the store in the first place. And finally, they said, look, you have to ask us for the order or we can't buy. And guess what the salesperson said? How interesting.
Now, let's say you've got somebody roaming around a store and they like something and they're holding it, so they're not actually at the cash register. How would you handle them then?
I would go up and ask, what do you like most about this? And if it's the hand, if it's the feel of the fabric, if it's the cut, it's the style, they're going to give you some clue about what they like about it. So you go up to them and simply say, that is one of our most popular items. It's something that is very high quality. It's a cutting edge. What do you like most about it? And if they say, I like the color. Okay, then it's the color. Well, while you're looking at that, would you mind if I went and brought you a couple of other pieces that would complement or would go with that as well? The customer has just told you what they're looking for. If they say, I have a big event coming up, oh my gosh, a big event coming. If it's a high school reunion, sheesh, they want the whole outfit. They want the manicure. They want the hair. Just asking a few simple questions opens up the information.
Who is doing it well? In your opinion, you travel, you see, is there an example of somebody who's mastering this and on the other hand, who could learn from you?
Oh, good question. The problem I'm seeing is the lack of sales force on the floor. I have to go run people down. I went to get my wife a gift card for Mother's Day. And one gentleman, we got the card. He said, I don't have a card holder. I said, well, I would like to have a card holder. So he went to every stand in his department. And while he was doing that, a salesperson in another department said, what are you looking for? He told him. So he went looking in his department. They couldn't find one. So the salesperson escorted me up to the customer service center up on the next floor just to get me a card to put the gift card in. Mm-hmm. Just going out of their way to do that. The suggestive selling, unfortunately, is too often in the boutique store where somebody has a, what do you call it?
It's the owner,
in it.
Yes.
Yes. We were in Sedona shopping, and there's some beautiful shops there. And my wife found this outfit that she liked, and the lady went over and said, now let me show you 3 accessory options. Oh, perfect. I mean, it's coming out of my wife's budget, not my budget, so I don't mind if she does that.
But what you're saying, Chuck, is going back to training our associates not just to be reactive. It's all these things, the yellows, blinding lights are the obvious.
Yeah,
is what you're saying. But we aren't teaching our salespeople to do this, and they aren't doing it, and they aren't taking ownership. You know, one of the things Hudson's Bay Company always says is the mantra is think like an owner. But are we good enough about letting every single associate know you really are an owner? What would you do if someone was coming into your personal store? That's an excellent image. If you could train every person in every retail store to say, if this was your own store, what would you do differently?
Well, that's great.
There would be such a shift in thinking.
And you were talking about the practical way to make this happen. The best way that I have seen work, especially in retail, is you bring in a program, like your programmer, or one of the others is out there, and you have the individual like you come in and, first of all, identify the weaknesses. None of us can see our own weaknesses. So I do needs analysis.
So you go shopping in the store and see what's going on.
Yes, but you don't do it. You have an expert do it. Somebody, a silent shopper or whatever you want to call, mystery shopper. Okay, so you go into a store. You can see things in a store that I would never see. That's your expertise. And then you report back to the owner or the management and say, here are 3 things you people are doing very well. Mm-hmm. Here are 3 things you need to improve. Here are some things you need to stop doing. And then you lay out a program. Nothing sticks forever. That's why I'm big on the DIY training.
And I like the 15 minutes a month. 15 minutes a month or 15 minutes a week?
A week. 15 minutes
15 minutes a week. That's a good title for your next book, Chuck. Oh, okay. 15 minutes a week.
Yeah, I'll put under it, titled by Nadia.
Okay. But 15 minutes a week. I mean, you know, again, these are things because retail is suffering, we know. But when people do come in, they are people who want to look and want to touch and feel. And we are going to have to be better than we've ever been at nurturing those customers.
You know, the online stuff offers a lot of options, a lot of exceptions. What they don't offer is touch, either personal touch or product touch. And that can be critical. The beauty of retail, brick and mortar retail, is when someone comes in and finds something they like. They know they don't have to return it because it is what they thought it was. They are more likely at that point to buy multiples. Well, I like it in this color. I would also like it in that color. I like it in that cut over there. And I would like to have this accessory to go with it. And all that can be bundled, which is very difficult to do online. You try to put all the pictures together, and does this go with that? I'm going to wait till it gets here. When it gets here, if I don't like it, I'm going to send it back. We're not saving that much time and energy shopping online versus the shopping experience. And it has to be an experience. It has to be something that the person cherishes, that the person appreciates. The fact that they can go into a store, they're talking to somebody who's talking to them like a friend.
How do we motivate salespeople? You know, that's our other challenge, isn't it? To motivate salespeople to be as interactive, to be as present as we are hoping they will be.
I tell you, it is so easy. It may sound trite, but it's easy. When Tart Group does their survey, where does money fall as a motivator? Only for salespeople is it in the top 5. For everybody else, it's not in the top 5. So it's quality of life and those kinds of things. The best way to motivate salespeople is appreciation and recognition. It is amazing how that would work. Why do we see salesman of the quarter or salesperson of the month parking spaces? Why do we see the pictures in the break room about people who have done outstanding things? Salespeople fall into 2 categories. Some are highly competitive and some are very competitive. The ones that are highly competitive, you have a little trouble with them, sometimes bridling them. But the ones that are very competitive are the ones that care about the customer first. They care about the store second. and they measure how well they're doing by their paycheck. One of the few industries where where the paycheck matters is with salespeople. It's how we keep score. So you can use money if you want to. I'm not really a big advocate of that, but the just saying nice things. Oh, I just remembered a Lord & Taylor store. Oh, my gosh. I've forgotten what city we were in, but there was a big event, a black tie event. I learned that some of the guys were going to wear white dinner jackets. So there was a Lord & Taylor there. So I went down, we did the shopping and the whole bit. And the jacket almost fit. And the event was the next night. And I was speaking and all that kind of stuff. And I said, it's just the logistics just won't work out. And the young lady said, "Where are you staying?" I gave her the name of the hotel. The next morning, the bellman brought the coat to my room.
Now that's service.
It's service. And what did it cost her? I was probably on the way home. It was only a couple of miles from her store. And it may have been on the way home. It's just the little stuff that goes a long way. Well, the same is true in treating your salespeople. If sales are down, they need to know sales are down. However, they also deserve to know some ideas for bringing sales back up. If you called your sales force in the morning before the store opened and said, "I'll give a $100 bonus to the first person who makes a sale to a Sagittarius," what would they start asking their customers?
Exactly. When's your birthday? Oh, that's genius.
Yeah.
Chuck, I know you're very in demand as a speaker globally. What would you say right now your trending speaking topics are?
The hot one right now is going to be the science of selling, and especially the implementation of blended selling. Blended selling. Just think of your kitchen blender. Blended selling. You and I have been doing blended learning for a long time, in that we not only lecture, but we also provide podcasts. We also provide audios. We provide books. How does the person want to learn? Well, that's blended learning. Take that over to the sales arena. How does the customer want to buy? That's blended selling. We meet them where they are with the language they like to speak in a method that they would like to receive it.
So, Chuck, you say, and everybody who is listening to this, everybody is in selling. So whether you are in retail, whether you are in the corporate world, what are some Chuckisms just around really understanding how we market ourselves in this increasingly competitive digital age?
Ooh, yeah, that's I just added six more Chuckisms last week. Well, the primary Chuckism is, in the history of recorded time, no customer has ever said your price is too high and meant it. So when we look at our sales team, under no circumstances should they ever think, even a whim, that your prices are too high. If your price was too high, nobody would ever buy it. It's not the price, it's the customer's perception of the value. What is it worth to them? And until we know...
So that's very important in luxury retail.
Oh, gosh, yes. That's why I say get to know the customer first. I wrote a book years ago, Never Take Money from a Stranger. If you don't know these people, don't try to take their money. But if you do get to know them, don't be surprised when they start throwing money at you.
That's an excellent quote. So you're saying now I love both of those. Yes. Another one of my favorite of yours is you always speak about giving, learn to grow. What do you mean by that?
Oh, I just did a presentation, I finished about an hour ago. That was better than the presentation I did last week, but it's not as good as the presentation I will do Friday. Continuous quality improvement, always getting better.
What was the presentation you just finished? What was the title of that?
It was everything you ever wanted to know about sales and didn't know who to ask, and it was for a group of CEOs who are all facing different issues in their organizations. Their whole sales team needs to be replaced. Some of them have compensation issues. Some of them are trying to go to market with a new product. So whatever their issue is, I have 50 hours of content, so I can pontificate for hours on end. But we, again, figure out what their issue is. What do they want to accomplish? And then how do they want to receive the information? Retail, B2B, it's all the same.
So, Chuck, thank you so much for your invaluable time as we all navigate an increasingly complex, as you say, blended. Sometimes I think, never mind blended, it's a milkshake world. There's so much going on. There's so much being thrown at us. There's total onslaught, and navigating can be complex. So just a reminder, if you want to reach out to Chuck, it's Chuck Reaves, and it's Chuck, REAVES.com. And blended selling is important. And really just thank you for your time. And final word to anybody who is finding that right now they are feeling a little disillusioned and maybe just overwhelmed by the digital world.
The primary thing people need to remember is when you are selling to someone, you're doing something for them. You're not doing something to them. You're enhancing their life. You're enhancing their spirit. You're enhancing their career. You're doing something for those people. And never think in terms of, I'm doing this to them. I'm taking their money in exchange for goods. Every encounter with every customer is an opportunity to help the customer. The most important word in sales is help, HELP.
Which stands for?
That's it, just helping. I mean, it doesn't stand for anything.
And you and I will be coming up with a wonderful series of acronyms for what help is. Say hello. Say hello, then engage from your customer, then learn from your customer, and then promote with integrity what you are selling. Chuck Reaves, you are not only a master and scientific expert in the area of sales, you're also a mentor and friend, and I just want to thank you for your time and for your expertise in sharing your brilliant sales advice and guidance and wisdom with us. Thank you.
Always a pleasure, Nadia. Thank you.
You are welcome to join us here at Career Cafe. I'm Nadia Bilchik, NadiaSpeaks.com, and please listen, stay tuned, and be part of our community.